So I've been thinking a lot about Archons only. Obviously my last video was about what went wrong and where we can go from here, but I realized a few problems. Firstly, even if I bend the rules a little to try and beat Imaginarium Theater for achievements, Genshin has been introducing exclusive achievements only available with specific events locked to characters. As far as I know, this only started with Nodcry characters, but you need to both have the character and interact with certain situations with that character, which completely defeats the purpose of trying to do the achievements with only the Archons. However, I realized I have a much simpler path forward, one that would be fitting for beings as great as the Archons. Before we get into that though, if you're like me, you're 100% planning to pull for Odette now that 7.0 is released. But maybe you've already used your first time double bonuses. So now what? Well, before you resign to topping up in-game, let me introduce you to the sponsor of today's video, Hoyoverse's official top-up center. The base price is the same as in-game, but thanks to the current campaign, you'll earn an 8% Primogem bonus on up to 5 purchases, giving you extra Primogems and way more bang for your buck. Even better, for your first order on Hoyoverse's official top-up center, you'll get an extra 300 Primogems, regardless of what top-up tier you choose. Log in, confirm your server and character, and you're ready to buy. The 8% Primogem bonus is shown directly on the webpage, and you can get the max of 518 Primogems per order by topping up at the highest tier. And just like that, the top-up is on my account. And make sure you check your mailbox to claim your bonus Primogems. If you're planning to top up, click the link in the top of the description box or the pinned comment to make sure you top up directly through Hoyoverse's top-up center and get those bonus Primogems. Oh, and make sure you check the page to confirm the campaign rules and duration. Thank you so much to Hoyoverse's top-up center for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back to Archons only. If you're deep in endgame Genshin, there's a pretty high chance you've heard of the website Akasha, or its newly established competition, Hexencircle. If you haven't heard of either website, well, congratulations, you probably have a much healthier relationship with this game than a majority of current players. Anyways, these websites utilize Genshin's public player profiles to rank builds for specific characters. It's admittedly primarily bragging rights to have a top-ranked character, but it's also incredibly difficult when you get into the top 1000 and especially the top 100. Even one single bad artifact roll can make a huge difference in your placement. Now, one thing that has occurred quite frequently with this account is my tendency to, well, abandon it. Mostly because I just didn't really know what I could do. But every time I abandon this account, I unlock Stellar Reunion, Genshin's returner rewards. And what does Stellar Reunion provide? A whole lot of resin. So I have accumulated a humbling amount of resin. And I decided what better way to honor the Archons than getting all of them into the top 100 of their respective leaderboards. While Akasha has been as chronically abandoned as this account, the developers do tend to prioritize characters like Archons. And as of recording this video, every released Archon alongside Columbina has at least one leaderboard. Sure, we've potentially got a while to wait until the Saritsa, but her release also gives encouragement to try and get as many Primogems as possible between now and then. Maybe I'll even be able to C6 her, or at least C0R1. With the exception of Moeka, Venti, and Columbina, whose leaderboard is currently only lunar charged and available via Google search and not through the main website search, all of the Archon leaderboards have over 1 million people on them, so we've got a long way to go. But before we can artifact farm, we need to make sure our team is leveled up enough to make the domains easy to speedrun. So it's time to get everyone ascended to level 90. This video will focus on 3 of the 6 Archons for full ascension, Moeka, Venti, and Raiden, as well as starting towards collecting the materials for everyone else. As for Columbina, well, I hate her boss, so she'll just have to wait until I'm done with everyone else. Also, this is not remotely relevant, but I did finally manage to get both language and poetry exchange, meaning I finally got the name card. I have never been able to get this on my main account. No matter what I do, I just never see poetry exchange. So I am very thankful I got it here, and I am permanently missing the name card there. There wasn't really a particular reason for which characters I decided to ascend. Honestly, it was primarily ease of fighting their bosses. I knew Venti's boss was the easiest, obviously, but the Cecilias require a respawn period to collect enough. Moeka, meanwhile, has a trickier boss, but all of her flowers are available in 1 farming day. As for Raiden, well, I had already collected all of her berry things. While I don't entirely want to waste resin refreshing the bosses, I know I'll get more from Battle Pass and the rest of the Stellar Reunion, so I feel like it's not a huge deal if I use a few here and there. Besides, the nice thing is with the exception of Columbina, all of the Archons have their best set in the strong blocks, so I can just cycle between farming in domains and farming in the strong blocks. It'll mainly just be a battle of luck. One thing about me though is I don't entirely grasp the concept of low rolls and high rolls with artifacts. I can't calculate on the spot a crit ratio, and I primarily just see crit rate and damage on an artifact and say, yeah, that'll probably work. If anyone is more knowledgeable or knows a video I can watch to better understand it, definitely share it in the comments. Also, despite this specific banner being 2 characters I would pull on this account, I'm not going to focus too hard on trying to get Khans or Columbina's weapon. I already have Raiden's signature, and I want to try and save as much as I can for the Saritsa, so I'll probably throw whatever pulls I get at the weapon banner, but it's not a huge deal if I don't get anything. However, there will be plenty of farming in Nodcry, Natlan, and Snezhnaya ahead of the Saritsa's banner. Maybe I'll make a video of how many Primo Gems I can get in 24 hours or something. Honestly, it's such a balancing act between AR-45 and AR-55 to try and manage resin. I need to farm the level 90 Ascensions, Talents, weekly bosses, weapon ascension material, and then of course artifacts. So maybe it's for the best that I abandoned this account so many times and collected so much resin. I'll also be able to get more from Sumeru, Fontaine, and Natlan's offering systems, but that also means having to do all of that exploration, and the Aranara quest line. At least once everyone is ascended and maxed out, we won't need to worry once the Saritsa comes out. Oh, a side note from my last video. Violet and I managed to convince Midia to come to Japan with us. Originally, the trip was just going to be Violet, her 2 friends, and I, but the 2 friends can only take off less than 3 weeks, and I need more time in Tokyo for shopping, so Violet and I are going to stay an extra week and have a couple of days in Tokyo and then fly back to Seoul for a few days before flying back to America. Midia will join us for that extra week, so the 2 of us will be able to go cry in front of the Sato Sugo breakup KFC, which is very worth it in my opinion. At some point during this recording session, I ended up deciding I wanted to have Mawika be the first Archon that I ascended to 90, because having a main DPS at the highest level will absolutely make things easier. Also, I'm incredibly thankful that the training guide allows for 4 characters. It definitely makes farming significantly easier having a count shown to know how many of the specific flowers or drops I still need. Unfortunately, I also realized relatively quickly why I was struggling a lot against Mawika's boss. The answer was incredibly straightforward. Her talents desperately needed to be leveled up. Oops. I guess it's time for a side quest to the domain. Another pro of Stellar Reunion is that all of the domains are open, even if it's not the first week of a new banner. I'd prefer not to throw my excess resin at the talent books unless absolutely necessary, but level 5 talents on a level 80 Mawika, well, I feel like that qualifies as absolutely necessary. At least once I get everyone's boss drops, I can focus my resin on the weekly bosses and the talent domains, and of course continue to hold on to fragile resin for the artifact runs. Eventually, I got enough books to level Mawika's talents a bit, which, as expected, made things significantly easier. After a few more boss runs for Mawika, we finally hit AR-50. At this point, I also realized we're still in Inazuma Act 3 for the Archon quest. Imagine if I just waited until AR-60 to finally do the Archon quest line. That would actually be kind of hilarious, I'm not gonna lie. Despite being able to finally ascend to 90, I still need 10 more drops from Mawika's boss, and her flowers. Well, back to farming we go. So here's something fun. I might be getting a Switch 2 soon. I've been really wanting to play Pokopia, but it's exclusive to the Switch 2, and even though I actually found my Switch Lite recently, the battery is essentially dead. I have to keep it plugged in almost the entire time that I'm playing. I was also immediately humbled by having completely forgotten how to play Legends Arceus. One of my friends, the one who wants to buy my Pokemon cards if you watched Mulan Part 3, wants to get rid of his Switch 2, so I was like, hey, this might be a worthwhile exchange. I do still need to contact Nintendo support though, so I can get my email changed because it's linked to a super old email that I don't have access to any longer, and well, I'd prefer not losing any of my games, especially my island on Animal Crossing. I logged in for the first time in a while when I found my Switch Lite, and I realized how iconic my island is. Well, with the villagers at least. I never got around to getting a super aesthetic island, try as I might, because I always struggled with figuring out the layouts, but in terms of villagers, right now I have Zucker, Ketchup, Coco, Diana, Marshall, Sherb, Maple, Fauna, Raymond, and Marina on my island. I fear I would have been robbed if this was still 2020. Maybe if I have a Switch 2, I can make videos playing my Switch games. Though I would probably need to make a side channel for that. Also, why are the games so expensive? $60 is kind of insane for a downloadable game. Despite that, I did finally buy Pokemon Legends Z-A. I entirely bought it because I was sad that Metagross isn't in Legends Arceus, so at least in Z-A, I can have my go-to top team of Metagross, Gardevoir, Lucario, Absol, and, well, I'll have to decide between Espeon, Umbreon, Fennekin, or a secret fourth option. Actually, while I'm writing this, I currently have Absol, Fennekin, and Umbreon of that group, so baby steps. Also, look how cute my character is. I have to get further in the story before I can unlock the pale pink hair so I can have a more accurate hair, but for now I'm satisfied. Focusing back on the challenge, I did resign to using fragile resin for the boss drops because at least I'll have plenty of chances to get more. And realistically, I fear I will absolutely blow through all 50 of these in a single sitting when I fully get into artifact farming, so at least this feels somewhat more productive. Oh sure, now I get 3 drops. Well, that's okay, because now we have enough to ascend her, though I don't know what I'll do with the extra ones. Who else even uses these drops? In poetic timing, I also hit Friendship 10 with Moika. Most of the Archons are fairly close to Friendship 10, and once I get all of their name cards, I'm looking forward to how satisfying I can make my account's profile. Moika's name card might not be the most aesthetic, but it's an accomplishment nonetheless. Regardless, now it's time to go to Hoyocreators to collect her flowers. As I mentioned earlier, Moika benefits from having a significant number of her flowers in the open world. I looked it up and there are 80 at one time, so while that wouldn't help us much if we were going from first ascension to 90, it's perfect for us now. After longer than I'd care to admit, we finally got all 60 flowers. Another finite resource that you wouldn't expect me to struggle with on this account is the elemental gems. You would think, considering I only have one character of each element to ascend, well, mine is Columbina and Farina, but people don't consider either of them Archons anyways, so 2 half Archons make a full Hydro Archon, but that's neither here nor there. But for some reason, I struggled with having enough of each type for the 6 gemstones needed per character. I ended up doing a whole lot of exchanging and crafting and maxing out the Liyue and Mondstadt stores to the best of my ability, which, at least for Moika, worked well enough. Unfortunately, I still don't have enough of the whistles from the mobs in Natlan, so back to Natlan we go. This is definitely where we feel the world level at its worst. Enemy drops. And I still have to go to Inazuma for Raiden. At least we have our AFK Archon team. I haven't mentioned it yet, but with Snezhnaya releasing, I am very interested to see how I do with the shooting gameplay. I have never been good at first-person shooter games, and I actively avoid bow characters even here in Genshin because I personally struggle with aiming, so this will definitely be interesting. If the gameplay is anything like the event we had in the previous patch, then I think it'll be fine because I absolutely loved that event. Otherwise, it will 100% be a learning curve. But I am excited for the other exploration mechanics that were shown in the special program. I have a few videos I need to lock in and work on for the first few weeks of Snezhnaya's release, but we'll see if I procrastinate responsibilities for Snezhnaya or if I actually lock in. I guess you'll all find out depending on how many videos I release during 7.0. After crafting the last few whistles, we officially have everything ready for our first ascension to 90. Wow. Look at that. How beautiful. 1 down, 7 to go. And yes, I am counting the Saritsa already because, well, obviously. We take a quick detour to collect a few Cecilia flowers available for Venti and decide that our next task will be the boss drops for Raiden. Almost immediately, I'm reminded how much easier it is to fight bosses when you're level 90. And before anyone asks, I'm absolutely not ascending the world level until everyone is level 90. I know the drops are better. I know I just complained about it literally 2 minutes ago. I still don't care. I don't think that I ascended my main account past AR 50 until I was nearly AR 55, so anything is going to be better than that. I gotta say though, generally this boss is much easier than Moika's boss. It's also easier than it was earlier in the challenge run, but I guess that comes with progressing the challenge itself. It's kind of hilarious how fast I'm going to breeze through the reunion experience mission for the resin usage. I won't be doing the recommended quest or much of the exploration tasks before the time is up, so I might as well accomplish what I can. Like I said earlier, I'll probably just throw wishes at the weapons banner for now, and if anything, I can build pity, potentially get a weapon I want, and collect Stardust for Ascension materials. I see no negatives. Moving forward, I'll save as much as I can for the Saritsa, but this is the best banner we're gonna get for a while, at least for this account, so well in Rome, as they say. In today's edition of What's Ren Watching, I finally started on a few of the currently airing animes. One of my favorites this season is a bit of a tongue twister, at least for me, and it's called Though I Am an Inept Villainess. It's really fun so far, and I relate to that main girl on a spiritual level. She's just constantly in a stage of being sick. I ended up reading a bit of the manga, and it's a very wholesome story overall. I enjoy it a lot, and I'll definitely be watching it throughout the season. I also started rewatching the Haikyuu dub while I'm recording. It fits the bill for something I can half pay attention to, and the dub is one of the funniest dubbings in anime. Crunchyroll finally added all of the seasons, so I'm rewatching before I start the most recent season because I never actually got to watch the most recent season since I couldn't find the dub, and I was way too locked into those voices. Again, I end up with extra boss drops. I know the odds aren't exactly favorable for me to get a perfectly even amount of boss drops, but it would be nice, you know? For now, after crafting all of the Electro gemstones, it's time for our second ascension. Wait, why can't I ascend? Oh, I forgot about the samurai drops. Okay, let's see how long it takes to collect all of these. This is how I find out that I never did the travel permit quest. Oops. Wow, we are really just struggling our way through this ascension, aren't we? Alright, well, let's go talk to Kamaji and get our travel permit. Listen, I wasn't paid for prompt letter delivery. That's an extra fee. Right, so now we can go farm for the samurai drops. Time for a return of AFK Archons only. The one unfortunate part of this team and farming in Inazuma is the electro-charged water. Well, that and how few drops we get from each enemy.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
After farming every single samurai that the book will track for us, we only ended up with 19 of the 24 needed drops. Cool, I guess now we're gonna try to look for them ourselves. I could have probably used an online map or something, but unfortunately I didn't think about that until now while writing this script. So you live and learn, I suppose.
Later that same evening.
Okay, I'm almost positive there is not a single samurai enemy left in the entirety of Inazuma, but we got enough drops for Raiden's ascension. With that, we've ascended 2 of our Archons. I'd call that a successful day.
2 days later.
I'll be honest, I couldn't remember how many days the Cecilia took to respawn. Apparently, the answer is 3, so Venti will need to wait a bit longer before we can get his ascension. For now, our resin has capped, which is a cardinal sin in endgame, so we might as well make the most of this login on Archons only to farm the Animo Cube. Before that though, I decided to go clear through the target practice event. Like I said earlier, I loved this event on my main account, and it's a quick way to get a good amount of Primo Gems, so it can help with Stardust gathering or my future Saritsa savings. I will definitely not be starting or finishing the Sunny Summer event on this account because I did it on my main account and it took significantly more time than I anticipated to clear all of the missions. I enjoyed it, but I don't think I want to do it a second time. Instead, it's back to Mondstadt to fight the Animo Cube. Like I said earlier, the decision factor in which Archons got ascended first entirely relied on who had the easiest bosses and materials. The Animo Cube is a prime example of that. You could say fighting it is a breeze. Get it? Because never mind. I used up all of our regular resin to get 14 of the 20 necessary drops, but since I need to log in another day anyways to collect the rest of Venti's flowers, I figure it's not worth spending more fragile resin just so I can finish the last few fights today. Instead, it's time to farm materials for everyone else. Well, maybe not Nahida. I might save her for last because the mushroom spores are probably the worst of the group, which says a lot considering her competition. Starting with the path of least resistance, we head back to Fontaine for Farina. Farming on Farina only helped me learn that Farina also has enough of her flowers in the open world to get through her final ascension, and the flowers are mostly in the same 3 general areas. We also get a boost of Nahida's skill to make farming even easier, and in record time, or at least it feels like record time, we finished collecting for Farina, which means it's Core Lapis time. The good news, I guess, is that we can buy 5 Core Lapis from the lady in Liyue Harbor. It's 5 less that I have to farm, so I'll take the small wins where I can get them. I think the most annoying thing with farming Core Lapis is the fact there's at most 1 or 2 in each area. They are just so scattered throughout the nation. We have Mountain Shaper's domain as 1 prime farming area, and then otherwise you kind of just have to run around all of Liyue looking for it, and the 2nd prime farming area is locked behind Zhongli's story quest. Why is every part of Zhongli's ascension absolutely awful? His boss? Terrible. His materials? Literally rocks and slime. He's still at level 70 on my main account because I was able to get his HP over 40k despite that, and it was good enough for me. To be fair, I guess I don't need to ascend every Archon, but considering the list of goals I had for this account went from very long to very short, I think ascending everyone is the least that I can do. Plus, if I do decide to triple crown everyone, I do need to be fully ascended for that. Short-term suffering for long-term gain, or something like that, I don't know. While we farm, it's time for the Wheel of Yap. Today's pick is number 3. Do you like the way Genshin Impact is going with lunar reactions that are locked to characters? And what reactions would you like to see in game? I actually do really enjoy it, especially with older characters getting buffs as well. I love that Genshin is breathing new life into older characters, and if it took Fontaine and Natlan to fully figure out all the technical aspects of reactions locked to characters or regions, then I think it's well worth it. We started with Numa and Usia and Fontaine, which was predominantly used for exploration, and then Natlan introduced it in both battle and exploration, which gave us a lot of adjustment time before we saw lot more widely used with Lunar and now Hexarai and Stellar reactions. It acts twofold, honestly. It gives less experienced players a very direct user manual for team comps and character building, while also giving meta players and whales something new to work on. It does really well with preventing the game from stagnating, especially since every reaction type has a free character provided. Fontaine had Lynette, Natland had Kachina and Auroron in an event, Nodcry had Ino, Hexarai gave us either Fischl, Razor, or Sucrose, 3 characters I believe were already available for free at one point, Stellar is giving us Celosha, Beto was free in an event, and the Traveler was part of all of that too. So they are all pretty low entry, despite a lot of conversation online claiming otherwise. Even on my main account, where I chronically skip the most important characters because I don't find out how vital they are until it's too late, I haven't ever found it hard to adjust to new reactions, even if they're locked to specific characters. I'm looking forward to seeing if Genshin buffs more older characters in the future, or if we end up getting Abyss powers and buffs with that, or something cool whenever the Conria story arrives. Kind of hard to believe that might be next year, but then again, it's even harder to believe that we're already arriving in Snezhnaya. So I guess to answer the second part, I'd love to see Abyss powers like we saw Dainsleif use throughout our Dane quests, or like we see our twin wield occasionally. I don't know if any old characters besides like Skirk and Child could be buffed related to the abyssal powers though. I mean, I guess maybe Kaya and Arlecchino because they both have connections to Conria? That would be cool. With the new changes we've seen to Irminsul, it would also be cool if there's something with Sumeru characters related to the Aru system, but I haven't finished that quest yet, so maybe the ability or inability to do that is answered for me at the end of that quest. With all of our core lapis finally collected, I decided to go test our early luck in the strongbox. The biggest boost with all of the boss farming is the Gladiator's Finale 5-star artifacts that are being dumped on me, so we can try to prepare our starter builds. I ended up starting with Emblem for Raiden, and honestly, the strongbox results were pretty good. I'm obviously not expecting a top 10 build right out of the gate, but we already have a decent 4-piece set for her. All in all, the strongbox will be perfect, especially once the Saritsa releases, because by that point, hopefully Columbina's artifact domain will be on the strongbox as well, so I can just farm exclusively in the domain that's best for the Saritsa, or a few domains that are easy to clear, and throw any less than ideal pieces into the strongbox for everyone. A win-win. Why can't artifacts roll like this on my main account? Also, yes, I know this isn't a god tier artifact because there's no crit damage, but we're just starting here. This is fantastic for Battery Raiden for now. Also, I hit Friendship 10 with Farina as well. Her name card is significantly prettier, I must say. Sorry, Moika. I haven't touched Zhongli's domain in I don't know how long, so I figure going through each domain and seeing which one is easiest will help me decide who I work on next. I figure it'll probably end up being between Zhongli and Moika's domains, since a strong Zhongli shield will help us significantly in the Spiral Abyss, and Moika is still our main DPS. Zhongli's domain was not great, and the drops were even worse, but I guess we can at least throw this back in the strongbox. Side note, I see occasional tweets about how to best use Moika for peak DPS. Is there something I'm supposed to be doing? She's probably the most complicated, I guess, character to figure out. Some people say just spin on her bike, some say no, don't do that, something about canceling her charged attack. I don't know, I guess that can wait until we're trying to clear floor 12. Eventually, we got enough tenacity pieces to give Zhongli a 4-piece set, even if it's not great, and mixed between 4 and 5 stars. At least he's got a super gold feather. I ended up using my leftovers to strongbox farm for Nahida, which actually got me an Elemental Mastery Sands. We don't have to look at the substats. Well, 2-piece Deepwoods is a good start, I guess. Instead of farming for my main DPS, I decided to go farm Viridescent for Venti, because sure. Though, honestly, while writing this, I realized his best artifact set is now Lowen's set, which actually works even better for me because that means I can farm Columbinas as well. Even though Venti won't be able to activate his Hexarai buffs at all on this account, the Rising Wind set only requires completing the Witch's homework quest. So I guess despite my initial belief, I will be doing that on this account. For now though, I got a couple semi-decent starter pieces for Venti and finally decided it was time to try my luck in Moika's domain. Unfortunately, much like the Rising Wind set, I have a humbling amount of hours spent in this domain for my main account, so we'll see how much improvement my luck has on this account. The positive is that pyro characters are strongly preferred in this domain, so Moika fits right in. Hello? Getting a pyro goblet on the first run is crazy. I don't care if the substats are awful, that is an insane first attempt. Don't worry about the circlet. Wow, even if the stats are not ideal, getting a 4-piece set in 2 runs is significantly better than my luck on my main account. Noted. Even if we weren't able to finish Ascending Venti today, we got a bunch of materials farmed and got everyone on a decent starter build. Wait, why do you have this build? Okay, let's wrap up today's efforts with Furina's domain then. Speaking of Furina's domain, whenever I think of this domain, I'm immediately reminded of Violet, who has the most offensive artifact luck I have ever seen. Let me paint a picture. Last year, Midia, Violet, and I were driving home from seeing Excenary Heroes in New York. Violet was in the back playing Genshin, and I was talking about how I was trying to get a top 10% Kaniche build on Akasha. Violet had never heard of Akasha, so I told her about it, and she checked her builds. This girl had a top like 10% Furina and a top 8% Risley or something insane, without even trying. She didn't even know fully how artifact farming worked yet. Midia and I heavily debated, leaving her on the side of the road. Literally the definition of that, what, like it's hard, quote from Legally Blonde. Anyways, she's still trying to get a better Furina build and is currently at 2% vape and 9% skill, so I'll basically be competing against her for this account's Furina. For the record, her Risley is top 5% now. Focusing on my account, for now, Furina gets a 2-piece Golden Troop and 2-piece Gladiator. We'll get improvements eventually. I also went for a single run in Nahida's domain, which I struggled through, so I think I'll stick to the strongbox for her.
The next day.
We have finally reached the day of ascending Venti. As we know from earlier in the video, there are 37 Cecilias in the open world, so now he only needs 23. And unlike a certain other early Archon, Venti's materials are all in groups, and in one single area. Plus, I can use Nahida for it, which is a significantly large boost from Core Lapis. We have done it, chat. We've collected all of Venti's flowers. Now it's time to go get the last of the drops from Beth. I know it's been a long time since Archons only got a proper episode, but I finally have ideas for videos now, so I think I'll be able to get episodes out on a more frequent basis. I obviously want to rotate it with Hexarai and my solo challenges, but considering I've gotten this video and Mulani's video both done in like 3 days, I think as long as I take the time to record the videos, I'll be golden. Though having specific ideas for videos will definitely improve my ability to sit down and record. Before, I kind of just aimlessly did tasks, and then never figured out what to do with that content. Kind of like when I 100% in Mondstadt, Dragonspine, and most of Liyue. But now I can build the Archons, do videos running the artifact domains, exploration, etc, etc. So while I have a few solar run specific videos I need to record over the next few weeks, hopefully I'll be able to get some time in for Archons only and get another episode in before the end of 7.0. Could I try to 100% Snezhaya in the first 24 hours or less? Yeah, but I think I would go insane. Maybe I'll just make an entire movie-length video one day 100%ing the entire map to share how many Primogems you can get just from that exploration. I cannot believe Venti has me farming slimes in the big 2026. Farming always finds a way to humble you and remind you of your origins. Truly.
Much later.
Farming these slimes literally took me longer than farming the Core Lapis or farming the Samurai drops. I guess I should have thought about it yesterday. Well, that's certainly a name. After a handful of days, we have succeeded in ascending our first 3 Archons. And we're entirely out of level up books. Well, at least we still have more Mora. And before you say, wait, Ren, go buy some in your teapot. I can't. I haven't hit Trust Rank 8 yet. But I did hit Friendship 10 with Nahida, so at least there's that. I ended up side questing even further to speedrun Trust Rank 8, so at least now I can rely on buying books and resin in here. Buying the books got Venti 1 additional level, so I guess we'll be farming the level up books after we finish farming the remaining bosses. But that can be a task for next time. I hope you all enjoyed this long-awaited installment, and if you haven't yet, make sure you follow the link in the top of the description or the pinned comment to top up with the official Hoyoverse Top-Up Center. As always, a special shout out and thank you to my channel members for their continued support, and if you're new here, be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit the little bell so you never miss an upload. Until next time!